Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to do another One Piece chapter review, chapter 1060. Let's see, Luffy's Dream. Let's see, I'm trying to get this done quickly and all that stuff because I've got, let's see, more chapters to review and all that stuff on the weekend. But yeah, I figured, might as well catch up and do this chapter. But before we begin this chapter, I'm going to comment on the color spread, which apparently is a reader request from the Redraw the Coloring Corner page from the Volume 8, but with all the 10 crew members by Io Wakaski. So pretty much a very similar color where you had like Nami, Luffy, Usopp, Sanji, and Zoro sitting in together in the seat, and Luffy in the middle smiling and all that stuff. I'm not sure if it's the same polar bear, if the polar bear's there, but now you have like Frankie, Chopper, Robin, Brock, and Jinbei. All the crew members from the Grand Line and New World, if you will, and all that stuff. So yeah, I do quite like the update. You've kind of got like Luffy being the boss, sitting there with Zoro and Sanji sitting next beside him, Chopper sitting on his lap, Nami and Robin sitting behind him, with like most of the big guys plus Usopp standing up, cheering, celebrating behind him. So yeah, it's a nice little cover there. But yeah, anyway, on to the actual chapter. We begin off with Luffy reacting to the news that apparently that Zabo killed Vivi's dad, and he does not believe that he would ever do that, with Robin agreeing that the Revolutionary Army's objective are the world nobles, not the kings themselves. As we get a little bit of a narration of showing Sabo, Cobra, and Vivi with about how the Revolutionary Army declared war on the Celestial Dragons. Apparently Sabo killing Cobra, and Vivi went missing afterwards and all that stuff. With Luffy then demanding they go to Alabasta, but so telling him that King Cobra's already dead and Vivi is missing, went missing in Marijo. Hold on. Meridraw. Let's see if sorry for the poor pronunciation. With Luffy saying that they should go there, but with feeling that Karibo is with the Straw Hats on the ship, but stuck in a barrel and all that stuff. Cannot believe that he just hear that Luffy saying and going there, but Zoro telling him that you really want to go to enemy territory and fight Navy HQ, which of course scares Karibo and all that stuff. With Luffy asking, "Are you scared, Zoro?" and all that stuff. With Zoro saying that they've got no intel and all that stuff, and telling Luffy to calm down. Let's see, Sanji crying about wondering how Vivi's feeling right now, crying that he hopes that she's all right. With Chopper also crying the fact that Vivi's dad is dead, and how it's thinking about how he was nice to them even though they were pirates. With Usopp Moretti getting angry, shouting, "You'll never meet a better king." With Nami going back and forth, worried about Vivi and worried about Vivi's feelings, and going back and forth between those two things. With Jinbei commenting about how the revive sounds like quite a turbulent one this time. With Frankie commenting that this is the same brother they met back in Dressrosa. And Brock commenting about how he's never heard Alabasta suffering under misrule and all that stuff, so he cannot imagine that anyone would ever want to kill like the king and all that stuff. With eventually Luffy and Chop and all that stuff going like Vivi saying she's too worried about Vivi, asking where she is. Luffy says, "Let's go save her," with Chopper agreeing, but Zoro tells him to knock it off and calm down and all that stuff, and ends up reminding Luffy about what he once said about what happened to Ace, with Luffy getting annoyed, looking at his thing, remembering about how he said Ace has his own adventures. With Zoro commenting that until he was in an undeniable danger, he let Ace live his own life and all that stuff. And comments that Vivi he could probably figure it out for herself, and that she's strong. But when the time comes to act, they will fight whoever they have to, but there's nothing to be done right now, so they just need to just deal with it. Let's see. Now, Luffy's still annoyed, saying at least let him vent a little. With then The four Straw Hats most worry about Vivi. Luffy, Nami, Chopper, and Sanji end up starting to insult Zoro with Luffy calling him an ogre from Onigashima, Nami Green Kaido, Chopper Green Mom, and Sanji saying crappy Mosshead, with only Zoro responding to Sanji calling him fourth, which of course gets them to fighting again next panel, but Robin commenting about what has happened while they were away in Wano, and about how everything's rapidly developing, particularly the dilution of the seven warlords in the sea, resulting in all those powerful pirates being unleashed. And that led to the formation of Cross Guild and Archies, Buggies, and Crocodile's alliance, as we see, and the fact that Buggy is now a warlord, but Luffy commenting that seems to be a mistake. And Nami's in there in the background, and while you don't really see her reacting to anything, I do think she seems to be, she might be nodding. I think there might be some sort of effects thing around her, but it could be the anime would show that it's nodding, but she could be agreeing with Luffy here and all that stuff. Let's see. Robin also tells Luffy there are more people that have got with names in the paper that have got connections with him and all that stuff, and asks if he wants to know. But Luffy says he'll just leave it to her to tell him if it's real bad and all that stuff. But let's see, Robin's smiling, saying, all right, she'll do that. Figured that enough. He's had enough news and information for now. But anyway, Luffy ends up lying back down to comment about how Sabo didn't do it. As he knows Sabo and how he grew up in a home, controlled, he just wants everyone to be free and all that stuff. As we see when Sayabo talks about when he was a child about how he wants to see the world and write a book about it. And then Luffy declaring his own dream, and he ends up saying how he swore an oath to both Sabo and Ace, that the three of us, as he declares himself, I wanna. And this cuts to silence as we skip it, but we kind of see perhaps the reactions everyone has, maybe even the Sunny a bit. So going huh. Let's see, Jinbei confused about what he said. Nami also being shocked. Let's see, Brock laughing about how it's hilarious. Let's see, Usopp the most skeptical, thinking he can't be serious. Frankie just laughing and crying, saying how he loves it. Sanji's laughing, but thinks that Chopper needs to examine Luffy's brain. Let's see, Robin is speechless, and Chopper is just amazed. And all that stuff. With Usopp then saying that it's not possible. Let's see. But he thinks maybe, but Usopp responds maybe once he's become Pirate Kings. With Usopp then saying who thinks of something like that? With Luffy going let's see, surprised, wondering if he never actually told them what this was before. Let's see, Usopp saying nope, never, not that he really cares or minds too much because, it can't happen. With Luffy then thinking back, then that means he has only told Shanks, Ace, and Sabo then. With Robin asking how did they react and all that stuff. Let's see, they all laughed, Luffy replies, and Shanks had tears in his eyes. Probably because, he probably heard those words from Roger long ago. But yeah. But Luffy's ended up lying down again. Let's see. Closing his eyes, smiling, saying that's all that, and that's all at the end of his dream and all that stuff. With Jinbei now crying tears of joy, now that thinking that he's on the ship, he's got to take it seriously, as this is quite the captain he's sat himself with. Luffy just laughing. Chopper thinking that's great, Luffy, and think it's a great dream, with Nami saying it's just smiling, tilting her head, saying that just sound like him, and all that stuff. With Frankie saying that, okay, if this is the dream, at the very least, we need to if Luffy needs to become King of Pirates for this to happen, they just need to find the last poneglyph, then they can get to Laugh Tale, but Robin says it's not as easy as it sounds. And there's comments about how no one's been able to find it for a long time. And no clues to its whereabouts. Let's see. Anyway, we cut to the new Navy HQ in the New World. And a message from where they were receiving a message from the Flame Emperor Sambo to the Kambata Queendom. asking where he is and all that stuff, and they're trying to trace his signal. With them commenting how there's no white transponders now jamming. Let's see. Then they realize that this is probably likely an emergency call, and apparently he'll hang up soon. But they've got the trace for successful, and they've realized that he is in the kingdom of Lucia, where we see now cut to like the 5 elders, with them commenting about Lucia and how their world. As we end up getting more speech about it, it's revealed that it's one of the 8 nations that did the revolt against the countries the other day, part of the 8 nation revolution, and the perfect place for Sabo to hide, apparently, to go in hiding. As we start to see Emu walking in his butterfly field to somewhere. With the remaining elders just comment about how they understand or see and all that stuff, with about how Sabo's an unlucky man, but one of them says it's probably simply destiny or fate, depending on the translation. As we cut to Kambata Queendom, as we see the Revolutionary Army reacting to Sabo's news and all that stuff, with him apologizing for the trouble and all that stuff, but they're just glad he's alright. But anyway, he gets to Chase and tells Dragon that he wasn't the one who assassinated Cobra, as you can see Dragon listening very seriously. As we see the rest of the Revolutionary Army members just crying in despair, some of them crying for joy, I think, particularly the giant, I believe his name is Morley, thinking that he always believed in him, and everyone had Collar saying they had a feeling. All of them just kind of glad that he's not the murderer of Cobra and all that stuff. But he tells them, but when he was at Marine Joie, he saw something really terrible, and they're confused about. Oops, I'm scrolling. Let me just. Oh, damn it! But he says he saw something terrible as we cut to Lucia in. Well, it says here in the New World, but it's supposed to be apparently in the Grand Line. With them wondering what it is, and you see people commenting about the sky being dark and all the clouds. People are, saying it's almost like a massive object is hovering just over their head. And we end up seeing the kingdom of Lucia, King Seke, the sort of vampire king we saw at the Leverie. And with him saying that the peasants here will regret this, marking his words about how once Navy arrives, they'll be sentenced to impalement. With her daughter, Princess Komi, the one that Kobe and Hapono saved from like those pirates who then tried to capture Rebecca and Violet and all that stuff. With her declaring that let them kill them too, asking her dad if they'll let her kill them too, as she wants to make all these peasant scum pay for price for defying them and locking them up. But Assassination just tells them to confess their crimes, slipping on the tongue of trying to call him Majesty and just going like a Lord Seke or just Seke, depending on translation. Saying they don't really want to take their lives, they just want them to admit their crimes against the people. As we get more of a close-up of Emu and his eyes and all that stuff, with Sabo trying to tell the revolutionaries that they have empty throne in the Pegu Castle. But the Marines again telling them to cut off communications off the transponder snail, but they're confused, as we see Lucia on some sort of map being drawn across by Emu and all that stuff. With Sabo trying to tell the revolutionaries that the throne room that's supposed to remain empty forever, because there's supposed to be no king of the world, actually trying to tell them that he actually saw someone sitting on it. And let's see, with then I think one of the 5 elders telling communications to listen to them, as we see bits of the citizens looking up in the sky at wondering what's the shadow in it. And telling them they did not detect anything today. With them we see families and kids, smiling with someone saying, "I'm scared, Daddy." With Sabo looking up in the sky, a dog barking and all that stuff. Telling that they did not intercept anything, and that the kingdom of Lucia, as we get now a big close-up of Emu's eyes, as we see a light in the sky. The citizens start to close their eyes. Then we see the former king Sekhe, covering himself, but then having his eyes, let's see, looking up, just as whatever the light's doing, and all that, just as he looking at the light. As let's see, Elder said, that country never existed in the first place. As we see then 16 laser lights or laser beams fire on the kingdom, completely destroying it. Anyway, as we then cut to wait, not yet, sorry. And then apparently, as people saying that a sea quake detected in the open sea in the southwest, with the revolutionaries trying to contact Sabo, seeming lost communication, with a tsunami warning issued. And then we cut to days later, where we follow the Straw Hats again, as escaping appears to be a cold storm and all that stuff. And a few sea creatures from the looks of things, about how it's scary and cold, and they're asking to watch out for the icebergs. Jinbei saying to quickly fall the sails, the wind is strong and all that stuff, and about how asking them if they're near the island, but she says not yet, and but they are in the island's climate range. And she's guessing it's a strong winter island, so yeah. With Robin then commenting on Chopper's fashionable choice about how he got this, one of those straw hat things, a woven hat from Altama and all that stuff. And she doesn't have to worry about the snow, so he's going out and says he will be right back. With Luffy asking Nami what's in front of them, with her being shocked what, and wondering if it's a mermaid and all that. Wait, hold on. I skipped a bit, saying, wondering what it is, and apparently it's an enormous warm eddy, like one of those big bubble water things I think we saw after Fisherman Island. But they're wondering why it's above water. As Nami explains how it's a massive warm water got heated somewhere, has now been pushed upwards. Brock comments that looks like an afro. It was Nami telling Jimbo to try and get out of its way before it sucked, with him saying he's on it. But Luffy realizes it's someone inside, wondering if it's a mermaid. But Sanji's able to hear that it's a lady. Was Nami shocked that he can do that? With them asking if he's serious, but they don't know what they should do about it, if that's true. Zoro decides to cut it open, but Sanji threatening, if you harm the lady, I won't forgive you. With him doing a one-sword style bird dance, cutting it and all that stuff. With Chopper going outside, wondering what's all the fuss about. With him coming about his woven hat Chopperman thing, but he gets blown out to the air. Flying, with Usopp wondering why he even went out in the first place. Luffy tries to save him, but then also ends up flying as a result. And with them ending up with a splash of the water, where they notice that it's a little kid. As the introduction ends up saying, worst generation, the gluttony, Jewelry Bonnie, with a bounty of 320 million, ending the chapter in her child form. Okay, that summary took much longer than I expected. And again, that's always the case with these One Piece ones. It's never quick like the My Hero Academia, so yeah. I did comment a bit about the cover first, so yeah. So anyway, we finally got the Straw Hats learning the news about apparently Sabo allegedly killing Cobra, and and all that stuff, and the fact that Vivi is missing, and of course, as we've seen, many of the Straw Hats, particularly the ones that have known Vivi, particularly like Luffy, Chopper, Nami, and Sanji, all upset. Luffy and Chopper because, well, they love their friend. Nami because, well, Vivi's probably also because she cares about Vivi, and they're probably sisterly bond, if you will, like that. And Sanji because, well, he loves Vivi and all that stuff, like he loves all ladies. And all that stuff, so yeah. So, and, well, they all consider her part of the crew. But yeah, even, it's interesting about Robin's reaction like that. I don't think, let's see, as well, because, well, she knows Vivi, but they were enemies at the time and all that stuff. But yeah, but she just still can't believe that. So, but she's also being friends with Sabo and probably at least interacted with him for 2 years. Cannot imagine him doing it either. And also, she can probably learn from the revolutionaries from there during her time that yes, of course, their goal is to slay the celestial dragons, not the actual individual kings and rulers itself. Though granted, they might try and take out some of the more corrupt ones, I think. All that stuff, as I think they've done so in the past. I definitely think Dragon wouldn't mind having the Goa Kingdom nobles and royals overthrown, given his disgust with them and all that stuff. But yeah, I do like how Luffy, of course, being as expected, would probably declare that they need to go to either Alabasta or Marine War if it means trying to save Vivi and all that stuff. But I do like, of course, and it's probably expected that Zoro would be the voice of reason when, like, someone is in danger or someone has left the crew or someone's gotten themselves into trouble and all that stuff. Telling Luffy that, of course, we have no idea where Vivi is and all that stuff. And let's see, it would be foolish to go attack Marine headquarters without a plan and all that stuff. So yeah, even though Luffy protests and all that stuff. But yeah, but I also like some of the other Straw Hats reactions, like saying how Usopp and Brock are like, there's never been a better king than, let's see, Cobra. Chopper being upset that he's dead because he was so nice. With Frankie and Jinbei commented that this revive Levelly was quite the chaotic one. And we see Frankie just commenting that this is the brother they met earlier and all that stuff. But yeah, it's also interesting to note that we do have, let's see, we've got confirmation in this chapter that Karibo did end up getting a ride with the Straw Hats, but he's in a battle. Now, whether or not, let's see, they put him there himself straight away or he sneaked on board and then they did it later knowing he's trouble, but it's clearly done intentionally on purpose, and done on purpose, and the fact that they probably don't. Let's see, and the fact that they don't really want him probably escaping and causing trouble again. Jimbo probably remembers the mermaid incident from the Karibo cover thing, but yeah. But I think no one will remember how much of a trouble he is. But it's interesting to know that he's listening in on this news, so he knows that Vivi was once a part of the crew. And let's see, a bit later, he hears probably Luffy's dream. So yeah, he's getting all kinds of intel at the very least. But I do like how he's scared of fighting Marines head on, even though he became infamous for burying a Marines alive and all that stuff. But yeah. I do like how Nami goes back and forth with also worrying about Vivi and all that stuff. But yeah, even though I do like how Zoro ends up using Luffy's own words about Ace against him, saying that Vivi's and he has confidence that Vivi's strong and can handle herself. But let's see, they should probably not act until it's absolutely necessary, and when she's absolutely in danger, they will come and save her. But for now, they don't know what's going on, so they should wait and all that stuff. Luffy, of course, annoyed at this and wanting us to vent, of course. And then you get a sort of reminiscence of what happened at the end of Alabasta once Vivi left. And so said, if you guys missed us so much, you should just kidnapped him with the 4 Straw Hats just making insults, and it's just such a nice callback. Well, this time, they all forgot her theme of what happened in the last arc, with something about either something that happened back in the last arc, or just calling him Luffy, just calling him an ogre from Omegashima and all that stuff, with Chopper and Nami calling him a green, either Big Mom or Kaido, which some say is probably actually a compliment, but they're clearly making fun of his hair and all that stuff. And Sanji just doing this typical Moss head, but I do like how only Zoro just reacts to Sanji and just calls him number 4 again, and that causes them to fight. So yeah, this is going to be a recurring joke from now on and all that stuff, probably number 4, and then they just fight. But yeah, I do like how Robin is the one who's looking at all this information in the newspaper and just commenting about all the things, particularly like the dissolution of the warlords, which unleashed those pirates and formed Cross Guild, which seems to be the thing that bites back from the war. Let's see, for the world government and all that stuff, and given the witty marine posters and all that stuff. Oh yeah, one thing I should. Although granted, there's some bite back for the warlords, as now pirates are now hunting them besides marines. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention from the last chapter review is that you had Luffy's face covered on the Amazon Lily thing, so you probably had the marines seeing that. So I wonder if this will lead to speculation to think that the Amazon Lily is under the Straw Hats' territory, or that there's some sort of alliance between the Pirate Empress and the Yonko. I wouldn't even be surprised if the papers do some rumors that Hancock and Luffy are probably lovers or rumored to be lovers, but who knows? But yeah, and also Robin commenting about Buggy being a part of, one of the emperors, but Luffy still determined that this is some sort of mistake, and I think Nami is agreeing and all that stuff because she, besides Luffy, the only other person that personally knows Buggy is her and Zoro, and there's no way they believe that Crocodile and Hawkeye have become his subordinates, nor him being a Yonko. Anyway, I do like how Robin offers to ask Luffy if he wants any more information, particularly people he knows, but Luffy decides not to do it. This is them trying to keep information. Oh, they're keeping Luffy learning that Kobe has been captured by Blackbeard. And what happens to Hancock. But yeah. But let's see. Butt figures it'd probably be best that Luffy doesn't learn too much information, especially given the information he's just learned about his brother. But anyway, I do like how, it's interesting to note that due to this whole incident, Luffy ends up finally revealing, at least to the crew, not to us, what his dream is and all that stuff. And what he said to like Sabo and Ace long ago, which saw and all that stuff about what he wants to be. And of course, you get all the Straw Hats' reactions to it and all that stuff. Let's see. I do like how Zoro, Jinbei, and Nami, when first hearing it, are confused about what he said. Maybe even the Sunny. Perhaps it's a hint in the future. But then again, some do think the Sunny is actually a crew member, and maybe got the spirit of the Going Merry inside it. But yeah. Let's see. Brock and Sanji just laughing about how funny he is, but though Sanji thinks that Luffy must be daft and needs Chopper to examine. Let's see. Usopp, of course, cannot believe that Luffy's serious, with Frankie just crying tears of joy, laughing at it. Robin is speechless. And Chopper's just like amazed if Luffy could say that. But yeah. It's interesting to note that, of course, no surprise that Usopp would be the most skeptical one and gives the hint that, okay, this dream is should be impossible, but Luffy thinks that it can be if he becomes Pirate King and all that stuff. But Robin is just, after just being shocked, just smiles, asking who Luffy had told, those that Luffy had told had responded. As Luffy reveals that, I guess, not realizing that he told them. Of course, it's interesting that he did tell Shanks, Ace, and Sabo, because we know that those three should know, because Shanks ended up meeting Rayleigh and told him, and Ace told Yamato. So I suppose this is probably one of the reasons why Yamato is yet not on the crew, because he actually got told by Ace and all that stuff. And said he could never laugh and mock a dream like that. In fact, it all in all make Yamato admire Luffy and all that stuff, and probably wanted to make Yamato join his crew after Ace and all that stuff. And no doubt, if Yamato was here, he'd probably end up telling the Straw Hats that Luffy ended up saying the same words as Gold Roger. So I think Oda doesn't want them knowing that quite yet, and all the comparisons and all that stuff just yet, but who knows. But yeah. But I just like how Luffy just smiles and says that it's the end of his dream. But this is confirmation that just being the Pirate King is not the end goal for what Luffy wants. Granted, it was partly due to that. We've partly got hints of that, like saying how Luffy says the Pirate King is the freest man in the thing. So that might be a hint that his dream is freedom. Some think that the dream, I might have thought as well, the dream might have been revealed when he told Kaido what he wants to do with Wano, but that's clearly not the case. But yeah, we still don't know the dream, but we now got an idea that, okay, there's a reason why Luffy wants to be Pirate King, and it's involved with this dream being accomplished at the very least. So yeah, and we'll probably get it revealed at some point closer to when we actually get to the goal. There have been many theories. I've seen Luffy wanted to for a worldwide banquet and all that stuff, or some that perhaps seem a bit unbelievable, like Luffy traveling space and going on adventures, which, to be fair, would say that sounds impossible, but yeah. But I do like how some of the crew reacts after Luffy ends up talking a bit more. Jimbo just crying, laughing with tears of joy, thinking, let's see, now that he's here on the ship, there's no point in him, Gritzy. He has to now take this dream seriously, thinking that he's got quite the captain to deal with. Chopper just thinking it's great and hopes that Luffy does it. Nami just gets smiling and just thinking, yeah, it sounds like you. In a sort of like dreamy like state, if you will. Not really dreamy like, ooh, he's so blah blah, but just smiling like it's like Luffy just being the adorable idiot, if you kind of thing. I think some would see this as a ship moment between Luffy and Nami, which no doubt might bring a bit of a ship war between Nami and Luffy shippers and Boa Hancock and Luffy shippers. But yeah, I do like how Frankie is just seriously wants to do the stream and wants to find the last polyglyph to do it. But Robin reminding them it's not going to be that easy. So yeah, I do like how Robin does that. Anyway, as for the stuff with Zaba and the new Karma Kingdom and all that stuff, it is interesting to learn that that the Lucia Kingdom was one of the 8 nations rebelling. We saw that it was in poverty in the Livery Arc, as all the tributes to the world nobles have made it poor and all that stuff. And people like Mulder has been able to give milk to like all the children and all that stuff. So yeah, they managed to get a bit of money from the Revolutionary Army, and no doubt probably because the Revolutionaries actually helped them and all that stuff against Peachbeard. They probably decided that, okay, the world government's not helping, corrupt king and all that stuff, paying up to the world nobles, time to rebel and all that stuff. So it's interesting to get one of these new kingdoms and all that stuff. I do like how we see the Marines just scrambling and just panicking and trying to figure out. And it's interesting that we learned from them that Saba's using a white transponder thing, that not using that to prevent traces and all that stuff, so they can hear him, but they must think that, okay, he is clearly desperate and all that stuff. But yeah, it's interesting that from the way that the 5 elders talk about it, that it must be fate that he's here, so when the kingdom was actually destroyed, they actually, they seem to have been planned and all that stuff, but yeah. But yeah, this chapter also confirms that, Saba did not actually kill the king and not King Cobra, which the revolutionaries are happy to hear. But he actually saw someone on the empty throne. I do like how we end up seeing him just walking closely, but yeah. Now, anyway, one thing to note that the King Sekai is that, he was not, introduced as the king in the manga at first in the Levery arc, but I think the anime implied that it was him, so I'm not sure if they decided that themselves or Oda just told them something, but yeah, it's clear that he is not a very nice king and all that stuff, given how, to be fair, I suppose he has some legitimate being angry and being thrown and locked in prison, but he's saying once the Navy HQ gets wind of this, They'll all be executed for defying him and all that stuff, with like his daughter, the princess, asking his father for permission to stomp them all to death. So we seem that this princess is also very vain a bit and really doesn't like it when people mistreat her. And does seem to have a habit of stomping people who have done so and all that stuff. So yeah. Not much has changed for her since the kidnapping from those pirates. But yeah. But the citizens, I do like how the citizens still have a bit of a hard time not addressing him as a king anymore. We're trying to just call him Seke or Lord Seke and all that stuff and just ask him to confess their crimes so they can live on and start this new era. Let's see, being part of some sort of republic, if you will. But anyway, I do find it interesting to note that Emu has this map that can cross out and then cause like a massive lasers to come out from the sky and all that stuff, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I do like how you see all these people just wondering what's going on in the sky, and then the king at the end, as it's blown up and all that stuff. And I do like how the Marines are trying to cover their tracks, telling the Marines that this place never existed, don't worry about it. But yeah, this has definitely, hyped up Emu to be like, final villain confirmation and all that stuff. And it seems to be confirmed that Saba just got there just by coincidence, but it's just lucky for the Five Elders, as they've already decided to extinguish this light from the world, it seems. And it seems like they're going to do that with the other 8 nations as well. So it's like all that effort to rid of a corrupt king only to be destroyed seems just gut-wrenching. Not to mention all the people in the kingdom are dead now, probably. Definitely the king and the princess, I'd say. I'm not sure about Moda, but who knows? But yeah, this will be probably quite... Now, this is probably not a place that everyone is too attached, but it's a place that we've seen a bit frequently, either being Ace's covers or in the Levely arc. So people have probably gotten some sort of investment in care in it, and are now probably just shocked that the whole place is gone, and probably hoping for that the key figure characters that we know, like okay, I'm getting tired. I'm forgetting the whole. Okay, I can't seem to think what I was saying. Oh yeah, let's see, Mulder and let's see, Ace visited to find Blackbeard and all that stuff. Granted, there seems to be a mistake that it's in the New World, not the Grand Line. But seeing all the people just reacting and like the king just realizing what's just happening and all getting destroyed and all that stuff. So yeah, this will probably be a crime that's revealed in the future, and people probably start panicking because, well, the world government seems to have a weapon. And for many people seem to guess that this is actually the last ancient weapon that we know of, Uranus, and it's somehow fallen into the possession of world government's hands, which could hype them up for being, the final threat, and particularly Emo, who seems to control it with some sort of map at least, or is just crossing it out. But yeah, his powers still remain a mystery. And from what some people noticed, that these are 16 heavenly lights, similar to Doflamingo's final attack against Luffy. But yeah. But anyway, I do like how, let's see, after this chapter, we've got confirmation that the Straw Hats are now heading towards a winter island. Chopper's got an, Wano hat from Otama and all that stuff. I do like how Nami and Jinbei are working together. And then, of course, they see like this giant Eddie, and let's see, well, it's a bit annoying that Sanji can just tell that a woman's in danger in there and all that stuff, but it's like his danger woman's sense. With Zoro just volunteering to cut it, with Sanji threatening Zoro, of course, but Zoro doesn't care and just ends up cutting it, freeing the woman. But of course, Chopper being a bit naive, ends up flying outside and getting Luffy dragged, showing that this is probably our first separation of the Straw Hats. And Chopper just wondering why you're doing this again and all that stuff. And let's see, I do like that we've got confirmation that the next supernova that we're following is Julie Bunny, and this shouldn't be a surprise. Let's see if you've read the next chapter and all that stuff. And it should have been obvious to Thing, given what she was doing in the Lovely. But yeah. We got confirmation that her bounty has gone up to 320 million, the same as Zoro's after Dressrosa. And she's in kid form, so yeah. The Straw Hats will be meeting her and all that stuff, and going on adventures with her, ending the chapter, provided they don't fall into the water. But, well, that's, I guess, what Jim is here for. But overall, I'd say I'd give this chapter probably a 9 to 9.5, maybe even a 10, all that stuff. Let's see if I'm feeling generous, but I think it's more like a 9 out of 10. I like seeing how the Straw Hats reacted, particularly Zoro, and then the throwback to when Vivi left. But yeah, but now we've got like a new woman, Etty, traveling with the Straw Hats at the very least, with Julie Bunny, with like this new arc. Luffy giving an idea of what the dream is to his crew and all that stuff, so they've heard it, and they're probably not going to write any more own volumes about it and all that stuff in the diaries for like a 13th member. But I do like all the reactions. Some crying tears of joy, fully supporting Luffy, some laughing and thinking it's impossible, with Usopp particularly thinking it's crazy, with others just accepting it and realize that this is probably who Luffy is. So yeah, so we're getting close. So yeah, we've got a confirmation that Luffy's being the Pirate King is not the end goal, but more of a means to the end goal. So that stuff, but yeah. It's kind of like how Naruto wanted to be Hokage, so everyone to acknowledge him, but got everyone to acknowledge him first before he became Hokage. But yeah, but it is sort of tragic. But yeah, but this chapter also does well of like Sabo confirming that the King Cobra was not killed and all that stuff by him, and that he did see the empty throne, so being sacked by Emu, so he's probably in danger of the Mitsubishi world government trying to hunt him down if he survives. I'm no doubt certain that he survived because, well, he was just looking up from a distance. From the way it was drawn, it looks like he was looking from a distance and not actually on the island, because I assume that even his devil fruit wouldn't be able to save him from this weapon, which no doubt is earnest. But yeah, Emus are threatened. Kingdom Destroyed, one that we're sort of attached to and all that stuff. It's like the Alderaan of Star Wars, and it seems to be like some hints that it's connected to Doflamingo with the 7 heavenly attack, but only just based this move off. But yeah, and that we're sorry, hiccups, and that we're finally getting some Julie Boney moments and all that stuff. And she's mostly had cameos in the arc she's appeared. But yeah, overall, probably a 9 out of 10. I am Blue Star Saber. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed listening to this review. And if you decide to live in the background, watch it and listen to it in the background later. But yeah, I enjoyed this chapter. Goodbye for now, everyone. Signing off as I deal with these hiccups. Goodbye.